What happens when one of Hollywood's most beloved actresses walks onto a morning talk show and ends up in the most explosive confrontation live television has ever seen? In just 30 seconds, a simple interview question turned into a full-blown battle that left the studio in complete silence and millions of viewers at home unable to look away. Emma Stone arrived at the Today Show studio that morning, expecting a typical promotional interview. She was there to talk about her latest film project, something she had done hundreds of times before on countless shows. The energy in the studio seemed normal at first. The lights were bright, the cameras were rolling, and Savannah Guthrie sat across from her with that familiar smile plastered across her face. But something felt different from the very beginning. Savannah opened the segment with what seemed like a standard greeting. "Emma Stone, welcome back to Today. It is always such a pleasure to have you here with us." Emma smiled warmly and nodded. "Thank you so much for having me. I am always happy to be here." The first few minutes went smoothly enough. They discussed the new film, the character Emma played, and the experience of working with the director. Emma was animated and engaging, sharing behind-the-scenes stories that had the small studio audience laughing. Hodaka sat beside Savannah, chiming in occasionally with her own questions and comments. Everything seemed perfectly fine. Then Savannah shifted in her seat and her tone changed completely. "You know, Emma, I have to ask you something that I think a lot of our viewers are wondering about." Savannah leaned forward slightly, her expression turning serious. "There has been some talk recently about your personal choices, specifically about how you spend your time when you are not working. Some people are saying you have become difficult to work with, that you have developed quite the attitude in Hollywood." The shift was so sudden and so unexpected that Emma's smile faltered for just a moment. She blinked, clearly caught off guard by the accusation disguised as a question. "I am sorry." "What?" Emma asked, her voice still polite but noticeably cooler. "I am not sure where you are getting that information from, Savannah. That is not something I have ever heard before. And honestly, it sounds completely made up." Savannah did not back down days. In fact, she doubled down on her approach. "Well, we have sources who work in the industry who have mentioned that you can be challenging on set, that you have specific demands, and that you do not always make things easy for the crew. Is that something you would like to address?" Hoda shifted uncomfortably in her seat, glancing between Savannah and Emma. The camera caught the awkward moment, and you could feel the tension building even through the screen. Emma took a breath, clearly trying to maintain her composure. "Savannah, I have worked in this industry for many years now, and I have always prided myself on being professional and respectful to every single person I work with, from the director to the production assistants to the catering staff, everyone. TT. So to sit here and have you tell me that there are anonymous sources saying otherwise is not only unfair, it is completely inaccurate." The audience was silent now. No more laughter, no more casual energy. Everyone could sense that something uncomfortable was unfolding right in front of them. Savannah pressed on, seemingly unfazed by Emma's response. "But Emma, we cannot ignore what people are saying. There are stories out there, rumors about your behavior. Do you think maybe there is some truth to them? Even just a little bit?" Emma's jaw tightened. "What I think, Savannah, is that you invited me here to talk about my work, about this film that I am incredibly proud of and that I poured my heart into. Instead, you are attacking my character based on what? Rumors, anonymous sources that may not even exist. And this feels less like an interview and more like an ambush." Al Roker, who had been standing off to the side near the weather wall, walked over slowly, clearly sensing the escalating tension. He tried to interject with a lighter tone. "Hey, let us maybe talk about the fun stuff. Emma, tell us about the most exciting scene you filmed for this movie." But Savannah was not done. She held up her hand slightly, dismissing Al's attempt to redirect the conversation. "Al, hold on. I think this is important. Emma, I am just trying to get to the truth here. Our viewers deserve honesty." Emma let out a short, humorless laugh. "Honesty? You want to talk about honesty? Then let me be completely honest with you, Savannah. This is not journalism. This is gossip. This is you trying to create drama where there is none. And I am not going to sit here and let you tear me down on national television for ratings." The words hung in the air like a bomb that had just detonated. Hod's eyes widened and she looked down at her notes as if trying to find an escape route from the conversation. Al stood frozen, unsure of what to do or say next. Savannah's face flushed slightly, but her expression remained stern. "Emma, I think you are overreacting. I am simply asking questions that people want answered." "No," Emma said firmly, her voice rising slightly but still controlled. "You are making accusations and then disguising them as questions. There is a difference, Savannah, and the fact that you cannot see that is really concerning to me." Savannah sat back in her chair, crossing her arms. "Well, I am sorry you feel that way, but as a journalist, it is my job to ask tough questions." "Tough questions are fine," Emma replied quickly. "But this is not tough journalism. This is mean-spirited and it is unnecessary. You know what the sad part is? I have been on this show multiple times. I have always had wonderful experiences here. But today you decided to treat me like I am some kind of villain, and I have done absolutely nothing to deserve that." The camera operators were clearly unsure where to point their lenses. The producers in the control room must have been panicking, trying to figure out whether to cut to commercial or let this play out. They chose to let it continue. Hoda finally found her voice and tried once more to salvage the situation. "Emma, I think we all just want to have a good conversation here. Maybe we can start over and talk about the things that matter, like your incredible performance in this film." But Savannah interrupted again. "Hoda, I appreciate what you are trying to do, but I am not going to apologize for doing my job. If Emma cannot handle a few direct questions, then maybe she should reconsider doing interviews altogether." That was the breaking point. Emma's eyes flashed with anger and she leaned forward in her chair. "Excuse me, did you really just say that?" "Savannah, I have handled thousands of interviews throughout my career. Interviews with tough questions, personal questions, challenging questions, and I have always been gracious and open. But what you are doing right now is not an interview. You are being hostile. You are being disrespectful, and frankly you are being completely out of line." Savannah's face hardened even more. "I am out of line, Emma. You are sitting on my show and you are going to tell me that I am out of line." "Yes," Emma said without hesitation. "Yes, I am, because someone needs to say it. You do not get to treat people this way just because you have a microphone and a camera pointed at you. You do not get to make up stories and then act offended when someone calls you out on it." The tension was suffocating now. Al took a step closer, trying one more time to mediate. "Ladies, maybe we should all just take a breath here and lay out of this." Savannah snapped, not even looking at him. Her focus was entirely on Emma. "Now, Emma, I think you are being incredibly defensive, and that tells me that maybe there is some truth to what people are saying about you." Emma stood up abruptly, the microphone clipped to her blouse, nearly pulling off. "That is it. I am done. I am not going to sit here and let you twist my words and attack my character. This is ridiculous." Savannah stood up as well, her voice rising to match Emma's energy. "You cannot just walk off the set, Emma. We are in the middle of a live broadcast." "Watch me," Emma said, her voice steady and clear. "I came here in good faith. I came here to talk about my work, to share something I care about with people who might be interested. But instead, you turned this into a circus. You made this about tearing me down, and I will not be a part of it." Hoda stood up too, holding her hands out in a calming gesture. "Emma, please let us just talk this through. I am sure we can work this out." But Emma shook her head. "Hoda, I appreciate you trying to help, but this is not on you. This is on her." She pointed at Savannah. "She made a choice to ambush me, and I am making a choice to leave." Savannah's voice dripped with condescension. "So, you are just going to run away? That is very mature, Emma." Emma paused, turning back to face Savannah one more time. "I am not running away, Savannah. I am standing up for myself. There is a difference. And maybe if you spent less time trying to tear other women down and more time actually listening to your guests, you would understand that." The studio went completely silent. Even the crew members who had been moving around in the background stopped in their tracks. No one had ever seen anything like this happen on live television, especially not on a morning talk show that was supposed to be light and friendly. Savannah's face turned red, her composure finally cracking. "How dare you? How dare you come onto my show and speak to me like that?" "Your show," Emma repeated, her eyebrows raised. "Savannah, This is not your personal platform to bully people. This is a job. You are supposed to be a professional. But right now, you are acting like someone who just wants to create drama for the sake of it. Al stepped between them slightly, his hands raised. Okay. Let us all just calm down for a second. This has gotten way out of hand. But Savannah pushed past him verbally. No, Al. Let her speak. Let Emma tell everyone how terrible I am. I'll let her play the victim. I am not playing anything, Emma said, her voice growing louder now. I am telling the truth. You came at me with baseless accusations. You treated me with disrespect, and now you are angry because I am not just sitting here and taking it quietly. Savannah pointed a finger at Emma. You are ungrateful. You know that you get to sit here on national television, promote your movie, reach millions of people, and you cannot handle a few tough questions. They were not tough questions, Emma shouted, finally losing her patience completely. They were attacks. You did not ask me about my process, about my character, about the message of the film. You asked me to defend myself against made-up rumors. That is not journalism, Savannah. That is bullying. The control room must have been in absolute chaos at this point. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every heated word, every angry expression, every uncomfortable moment. Hod tried once more, her voice shaking slightly. Please, can we just take a commercial break? Give everyone a chance to cool off. But Savannah was not backing down. No, I want to finish this conversation. Emma, if you have such a problem with how I conduct my interviews, then maybe you should not have agreed to come on in the first place. Emma grabbed her bag from beside the chair. You are absolutely right, Savannah. I should not have come on. That is a mistake I will not be making again. And I hope that anyone else who is thinking about coming on the show sees this and realizes what kind of environment they are walking into. Are you threatening me? Savannah asked, her voice sharp. I am not threatening anyone, Emma said, slinging her bag over her shoulder. I am stating a fact. You treated me terribly today, and I am not going to pretend otherwise. Al put his hand on Emma's arm gently. Emma, please let us just talk about this off camera. Emma looked at Al, and her expression softened slightly. Al, you are a good person. Hoda, you too. But I cannot stay here. I will not stay here. She started walking toward the exit, her heels clicking loudly against the studio floor. The cameras followed her, capturing every step. Savannah called after her. Emma, if you walk out that door, you are proving everyone right about you. Emma stopped, turned around one final time, and looked directly into the camera. To anyone watching at home, I want you to know that I came here today with nothing but respect and excitement. I wanted to share my work with you, but I was treated poorly and I refused to tolerate that. No one should have to tolerate that. Not in any workplace and certainly not on live television. Then she turned to Savannah. And as for you, Savannah, I hope you take a long look at how you treated me today because this was not okay. None of this was okay. With that, Emma walked out of the studio, leaving Savannah standing there in stunned silence. Hoda sat back down slowly, her face pale. Al ran his hand through his hair, clearly at a loss for words. Fire. Savannah stood frozen for a moment before finally sitting back down. She looked into the camera, trying to regain control of the situation. Well, that was unexpected. We will be right back after this break. But the damage was already done. The interview had imploded spectacularly and millions of viewers had witnessed the entire meltdown in real time. Emma Stone, the guest who had come to promote her film, had instead become the hero who stood up to a host who had crossed every line. The studio remained tense, even as they cut to commercial. Hoda would not look at Savannah. Al walked back to his weather station without saying a word. The crew members whispered among themselves, shocked by what they had just witnessed. Meanwhile, Emma Stone walked out of the building, her head held high, knowing she had done the right thing by refusing to be treated with such blatant disrespect. The interview that was supposed to be a simple promotional appearance had turned into one of the most dramatic moments in morning television history. And it all happened because one host decided that creating conflict was more important than showing basic respect to her guest. Emma had walked into that studio as a gracious, talented actress, ready to share her passion project. She walked out as someone who had drawn a line in the sand, refusing to accept unacceptable behavior. And in doing so, She had given everyone watching a masterclass in standing up for yourself when someone in power tries to tear you down. The whole thing unraveled so quickly that it was hard to believe it had all happened in such a short span of time. One moment everything seemed fine. The next the entire interview had collapsed into chaos. But through it all, Emma maintained her dignity and her truth. She did not resort to name-calling or cruelty. She simply stated the facts and refused to participate in a conversation that was designed to humiliate her. Savannah had underestimated her guest that day. She thought she could push Emma into a corner, force her to defend herself against baseless accusations, and create a viral moment for the show. What she got instead was a viral moment of a different kind entirely. A moment where her own behavior was exposed, where her tactics were called out, and where she lost complete control of her own interview. As Emma disappeared through the studio doors, the reality of what had just happened began to sink in. For everyone involved. This was not just another celebrity interview gone wrong. This was a defining moment, a line that had been crossed and a stand that had been taken. Emma Stone had walked onto that set as a guest, but she left as someone who had refused to be anyone's victim. The camera stopped rolling eventually, but the impact of that interview would be felt for a very long time. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply walk away from a situation where you are not being treated with the respect you deserve. And that is exactly what Emma Stone